Welcome to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wayne Pois for another rendition of this, lovely creation that we've, started to put together. If you haven't caught us just yet or don't know where to find us, we're on YouTube, obviously, Instagram, Twitter. You can catch us on our podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. We're getting hits in the UK. We're getting hits all over the place so far. So, maybe we're doing something right. But, in general, if you like what you hear and you want more, subscribe to our channels, like our posts, follow us on, any social media channel that we have. We love comments. We love to mix it up with you guys. So seriously, just keep giving us the feedback you already have. For this edition, we are going to break down the Eastern Conference and the first round matchups and kind of our predictions and insights on what we think will happen. But first, we had a couple play-in games. Obviously, this new tournament in the NBA, they have the 7 and 8 seed play each other for the 7 seed in a one-game matchup. The 9 and 10 seed play each other in a similar style of a one-game playoff to battle it out with who will be there for the 8 seed. So those matchups already happened. For the 7 and 8 seeds, the Nets ended up beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 115 to 108. Tighter matchup than maybe some predicted. I was a little shocked just at the kind of the competitiveness of the game. But in the other matchup, we had the Hawks, prevail over the Hornets in a 132-103 romp. We had, some interesting things transpire on the court, off the court. Wayne, were there any things that caught your eye in either matchup that you'd like to, talk to our viewers about?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think it was Charles Barkley that talked about the Nets, kind of just barely beating the Cavs. It was like, something along the lines of like this ain't a championship team if they're just barely beating the Cleveland Cavaliers by, a small margin like that. They played decent. They played okay. Like Kyrie, he's just been hot. I think that's been the biggest takeaway for me. I don't know his shooting percentage off the top of my head, but it's like probably close to like 80-90% or something like that these past couple games. So just really going off there. But they just don't. I don't see them making a deep playoff run. But with that talent, those two like Hall of Fame caliber players on the same team, it is interesting to watch at least. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to go any too much farther, but we'll save some ammunition for that. The Hawks look really good, even without John Collins. I think just seeing them, the wings, DeAndre Hunter stepping up, Clint Capella, just killing it down low. They're going to be a fun team to watch, I think, in the playoffs. And like I said, we'll be talking more about that. But they really showcased, I think, just the caliber that they can play at, that this was a team in the Eastern Conference last year, and now they're the 9 seed. So a lot of fun games ahead, I think, for them.
Those are some good points. I mean, I was a little bit shocked at how close the matchup was. I thought the Nets would come out a little bit hotter, given that it's, playoff time and what have you. And, if you got a guy like KD and even Kyrie who've been there and done it, won championships, you just think there'd be a little bit more, urgency there to kind of show out and kind of send a message to ultimately the Celtics who will play in the next round. But I was surprised to also hear that Kyrie was fasting for Ramadan.
Yeah.
To know that the body can be pushed in that way, and he's a kind of a quirky guy in general. I never knew that he was Muslim or just practiced in that sense. So.
Yeah.
Just interesting. And again, he's been showing out the second that he got off that, that restriction list. So it's just really remarkable in that sense. But you may be onto something for, where the Nets top out at least for this year. But I'd still like to hold out hope. And, we'll get into that next matchup in a second here. As far as the Hawks and Hornets go, I'm not really surprised. I mean, to know they won by 30, I probably wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have put money on them. Beating them by 20 even. But, I think the one takeaway I had was, just Miles Bridges, throwing a mouthpiece at a girl in the front row and, just apologizing, endlessly on the presser after the game or what have you. And, I think he did the right thing by, apologizing for that and accepting responsibility. And obviously he's going to probably have to make it up to the girl in the form of some basketball tickets or autographs or whatever else. But, just kind of a bad showing for that team overall in their first, appearance in this with this unit. But not surprised with what the Hawks did. I mean, this is a team that really, if we were just to power rank the Eastern Conference, I really see them as like a 5-6 seed instead of, playing in the, 8 seed matchup game. But, their second half's been pretty impressive. And, Trae Young showed out last year and they've got, a healthier and deeper roster to bring along with them. So any other reactions or, happy to set up the first round?
Yeah, no, I think you covered all that. Excited to see, what the Hawks do, I think, for this playoffs.
That sounds good. Without further ado, we'll just get right back into the tournament itself. There's 8 teams left. In the first matchup we'll cover, it's the number 1 seed Miami Heat, and they'll be hosting the now 8 seed Atlanta Hawks. What do you think about this matchup, Wayne?
Yeah, I think I really like this this matchup. I kind of predict this actually going 7. I think that the Hawks match up really well with the Heat. They both got bruisers down low with Capella and Abadayo. But I think that the Heat will prevail in 7 games. I think Tyler Hero is probably going to be the difference maker there. That being said, the Hawks have played really well with Bojan Bogdanovic kind of as their 6th man off the bench there. So has been playing really well there and stepping in. But, the Heat with that experience, with that tenacity, I know they've had some ups and downs, I think, throughout this season. But their experience, I think, will win this series for them. They have Lowry giving that veteran experience at point guard. And yeah, like I mentioned, they just have enough firepower, I think, to take them over the top. But it'll be a great series, though. Like you saw in the last game that Hawks are pretty legitimate even without Collins. So, some could argue that maybe they are a little bit better, at least for the playoffs in this case. But I certainly think they're a lot more fun to watch with Collins and his dunking. So, but yeah, I picked the Heat in 7 here.
I think that's a good way to break down this matchup. I mean, I think it goes the distance too in 7 games. I'm gonna side with you as well. I'm gonna pick the Miami Heat too. Just from a sense of, when we were looking toward the end of the season, they had a pretty big dust up between, Jimmy and Udonis Haslem, who's been, kind of their, locker room leader for about 2 decades or so now. And, Spo got involved and it was, one of those real dysfunctional outbreaks, on the court where everybody could see it. But, a lot of analysts were thinking this would be the thing that kills the Miami Heat in their run this year. But they seem to rebound pretty nicely off of that, dust up. They've been a team that's just kind of taking care of business against teams that are 500 or better. They really are the Atlanta Hawks. I just feel like they're just Atlanta Hawks on like caffeine or, maybe a little bit of testosterone. It's like at every position, I just feel like besides maybe Trae Young, I just feel like you have Miami Heat edging the Atlanta Hawks out a little bit, whether it be just sheer talent or just experience on the court or experience in big games like this. And I just can't see a scenario where, Jimmy, Kyle, you got Hero, Duncan Robinson, just great shooters, Adebayo, who's an all-star in his own right. It's like they've got too many guys who, play quick basketball. They play team basketball and, they're all kind of dogs, at least on the basketball court, just kind of fighting for each other. Hawks they're right there. It's kind of frustrating that they didn't bounce back this year in the same way they came out last year. I mean, I think if everything was held together and, they played hot out the gate, perhaps they wouldn't be facing the Heat in the first round, but, maybe their upside had been a little higher. So yeah. I'll leave it at that. Do you have any other, reactions or thoughts to this matchup?
Well, I was gonna say shout out to Max Strus, the DePaul alum on the Miami Heat and all that. Gotta get some representation there. So other than that, yeah, that's about it. But yeah, I think you covered all the bases there. It's not I don't think it's the Hawks' year, but who knows? They can do some crazy things, and with an X factor like Trae Young, anything can happen.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other Blue Demons that are still on the court and active at this point. It's probably a pretty slim pickings as far as guys go. I know Paul Reed is on the Sixers, at least for representation's sake. But I know at least when we were at DePaul, maybe we won a conference game per year at that. But
right.
Anyways, thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving into the next matchup within this bracket, it'll be the number 4 Philadelphia 76ers against the number 5 Toronto Raptors. Wayne, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here was that Matisse Thybulle is not going to be playing in Toronto. I was kind of going back and forth a little bit here, but that is such a big a disadvantage, I think, going into Toronto on the road in the playoffs, is having your best perimeter defender just not being able to play at all. So, I see the series going 6 games in favor of the Raptors. I think they'll split the series in Philly. I think then the Raptors will sweep them in Toronto, and then Philly will win that one game with Matisse back there. But then, they're going to take the series after that. Is my thinking. I think out of all the teams in the NBA playoffs, I honestly think the Raptors actually probably match up the best against the Sixers in terms of their physicality, in terms of their length. The wings, I think they match up really well there. Their athleticism with Siakam. Nick Nurse just knows how to kind of take out Embiid, if you will. I think Embiid's shooting percentage, like the past couple of seasons against the Raptors, is like something like 40%, which is pretty ridiculous for a center. So really knows how to take out their best player there. And yeah, with Harden, just I don't think half a season with Harden in there. I just don't think that they're built to make a deep run into the playoffs this season, especially without Thybulle. So yeah, I like the Raptors in 6 for this. But that being said, I've always liked the Philly players outside of Harden. So other than that, I kind of wish the best for them. But yeah, I got to go with the Raptors here. What about you? What do you think for this?
Yeah, I'm with you, Wayne. I'm in on the Raptors. I think in our super team episode that we've already posted to our social media and on YouTube, kind of explained kind of my position on James Harden, kind of his drive and kind of where he's at in his career. Even, I mean, this isn't the James Harden that teamed up with Chris Paul to make a deep Western Conference final. I mean, this guy, he's a bit out of shape. I think. His mindset has only gotten kind of worse since he's left Houston, just in terms of, maybe it's just kind of always seeking greener pastures and kind of trying to, wiggle his way into a perfect situation. But in a lot of ways, maybe that doesn't really exist for a guy like him. And
right. You
got to be team first when you go into the playoffs, and you got to, trust your teammates. You got to build that continuity, like you were mentioning, with the time they've logged together. And, like you said with Embiid, I can also see the Raptors just giving Harden fits when Embiid's not on the court. I mean, I don't see the Sixers being incredibly deep. I think taking, even Thybulle out, it's like even with him on the court, I only consider them really like a 6-man team. So, right. Now you're down to 5. And in a lot of ways, you're putting a lot of pressure on Danny Green, who's maybe past his prime years as a starting, guard or 6-man type, or Tobias Harris has always been kind of a head scratcher, like puts up good points, but in the same sense, they're always kind of looking to dish him, or they're looking to involve him in a trade to get rid of his contract. So it's kind of like, I kind of consider the Sixers like a paper champion, ESPN favorite type team. Like, oh, they've got 2 superstars, they must be great. Well, So did the Denver Nuggets when they had AI and Carmelo, but it's like in reality, sometimes those situations don't really play out the way they need to. But
Totally.
less about the Sixers and more about the Raptors. It's just, I think the Raptors can kill you in a lot of ways. I mean, I think you already did a great job at outlining how Nick Nurse is as a coach, the type of guys they have on that team. I mean, you've got Pascal Siakam is a star. Gary Trent Jr.'s had, just a breakout season in my eyes. I always liked what he was doing with the Trailblazers, but it seems like he's put an extra step into, where he can go as a pro. They brought over Thaddeus Young from San Antonio. I just think he brings a lot of grit and leadership in that sense. And, OG Anunoby and even Fred VanVleet, it's like, just bring those guys back in the championship roster. I think that they're not going to be scared to be in a first round matchup against the Sixers. I'll tell you that much. So, it just feels like a slam dunk to pick them. And I think picking them in 6 is a good call.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Van Vliet is coming back from injury. So is Anunoby. So like they're getting healthy right at the right time. So yeah, it's just not fortunate, I think, for the Sixers. They definitely did not get the best 4-5 matchup for sure. I think the Raptors are definitely going to take this. So I feel really confident about that. So yeah.
One question I'll throw at you is how should the Sixers view their season if they get knocked out this round? And what do you think they need to do for next year if they happen to exit early?
Yeah, that's a good question. Blow it up. I don't know. Start the process over again. Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you have such a great player like Embiid, right? I think in a way, part of me is like, I kind of wish that they get a little bit younger. I do like Maxey as their point guard. Definitely better fit than Simmons in this case for sure. But if they could somehow, I don't know, swing Harden for something else, maybe see what they can get for him. I just don't think that they are built adequately this season. But when you have a player like Thibault was like one of my favorite players just because of his defensive prowess and his tenacity on there, but he's not the greatest scorer. But if they can get another type of wing scorer that can start with for them, I see that. Yeah, maybe they can make a nice run there. But yeah, it's hard to say Harden is the answer in this case. I just don't see him fitting in too well, at least right now. So. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Yeah, maybe blow it up or just see if they can trade Harden again. See if they can get some assets for him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, I hope they don't go the route of, okay, we exited early. We have James Harden. So let's just throw him that, max extension. And it's just like, all right, now you're just strapped with a guy who's in his, the wrong side of his 30s and you're hoping and you're wishing they'll take you to the championship. But in the same sense, it's like the writing's kind of on the wall. I just think, Morey'd be smart to maybe ignore his personal relationship with James or just his thoughts of what James would be in that sense and kind of, look toward the future and reload the right way. But moving on to the next matchup, we have the number 2 Boston Celtics hosting the Brooklyn Nets.
Man, this is going to be a good series, I think. Again, with the 2 stars for the Nets. But I got the Celtics winning in 6 here. Like I said, like Irvin is playing out of his mind. That being said, I think the one thing that prevails is that the Celtics just have really good 2-way players, which I think you need in order to advance in the NBA playoffs a little bit more so. They got Marcus Smart, Derek White to help guard Irving. Jaylen Brown could probably go out there too. So I like them to help contain him and kind of disrupt Irving. And then, to help guard Durant, they got Tatum, they got Brown as well. They're just a good, I think, rotational defense overall. It sounds like Robert Williams could be coming back for this series. I think Waj just tweeted something on that. So, but even without him, they got Horford, base, Grant Williams to help out down low. Are they gonna necessarily bruise with like Andre Drummond? Maybe not. But I think they can definitely operate efficiently. and yeah, just beat the Nets there. I think they just have a deeper squad on their bench too. I mentioned some of the other players. They could probably be in the bench. Pritchard's has been playing pretty well at the point guard there too. So, I just think that they're a deeper team overall, and I think they're set up more so for success. Just with the winning streak that they had recently too, going forth in the playoffs. But yeah, it'll be a good series. Maybe Irving does go off and challenges everything. So, but I think in the end of the day, I'm picking the Sixers in 6 here.
No, I think that's fair. I wouldn't have felt that way if maybe this first round matchup was kind of or the play-in, I should say, was kind of a dud. It felt a little weird, but it's hard because I threw the Nets out there as my Eastern Conference representative when we did our NBA predictions episode. And it's tough because I'm still sticking by them. I'm still going to stick with the Nets. I'm going to pick them now probably in 7. I feel more comfortable with that, but I just can't see a scenario where you've got KD, you've got Kyrie Irving, 2 guys who are seriously, in the handful of guys I would select as maybe the best players in the NBA, paired up together. You got Andre Drummond down low, who's just been gobbling up boards. LaMarcus Aldridge, Patty Mills bring, just veteran experience there. Bruce Brown, he's been dropping, 20 here and there, lately. And, Seth Curry's there just to spot up and be kind of a guy who can take the pressure off on the offensive end too. And, I hate to say it, but not to mention if you have Ben Simmons giving you anything off the bench, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and he's just your Tatum or Brown stopper for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. I just feel like, he's got a ton of athletic ability. Obviously Canada free throw or, win a lawsuit to save his life. But, in the same way, I just feel like, he's got to be good for something at this point, just something, give us something. But it's tough because, clearly the Boston Celtics are the number 2 seed. And in the first half, they were really forgettable. I mean, just outside the play-in tournament range. It was kind of like they're just a complete afterthought. You thought Jaylen Brown might be going to the Philadelphia 76ers for Simmons. And they just come roaring back in the second half. And it kind of always felt like they should be in this position. I mean, there's no reason why 2, 6'7", 6'8" wings who can play defense, who can score at will, who can hit threes, who can, now be pretty good leaders. It's just like it is their time to shine. And this will be a good opportunity for them to get out and do it. I was a little concerned about Robert Williams being out. Now that you say that he's, back in the fold, I think that adds just a really good, layer of protection down low for them, somebody who can score on the inside. And Marcus Smart's a dog. He's been there. He's done it. I respect his game a lot. And, it'll be a tough matchup. I don't say it lightly. I'll pick the Nets, but I'm going to go there.
Yeah. No, yeah. And like I said, I think if we know KD's going to get his buckets no matter who you put in front of him, but, if Kyrie's playing like he is right now and all that, like, holy cow, it's going to be a hell of a series for sure. If you're shooting 80-90% a night, like, holy cow. So I think it'll be a fun series, but, like I mentioned before, I think the Celtics are really good on defense. I think they play great team defense. So I think, if they're smart, they'll try to neutralize things that KD can do, things that Kyrie can do. Albeit that's easier said than done, for both of those players. With Mr. Uncle Drew and Mr. Nobody can guard me in the entire NBA. So yeah, it is going to be tough, but I think the Celtics would do it. So
that sounds good. So we'll just keep that in the back of our minds. A matchup we'll watch pretty closely. I think that might be one of the best first round matchups in the NBA, but that'll be a good one. And finally, to round it off, we've got the number 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks taking on our number 6 seed Chicago Bulls. Coming in hot. What do you think, Wayne? What do you think of our chances here?
Man, if there's a time for Patrick Williams to come out and like ball out, now is the time. The Bulls have been playing like crap. They have been playing like crap of late. Like they just have not been playing well. Defense has been a little bit slower. Three has not been going in. It's it just hasn't been the best couple weeks, past month for the Bulls. But then now they have Patrick Williams back. He's kind of showed some games. I think he's actually more of the X factor. They're not going to have Lonzo Ball in this series. Early in the season when they were winning a lot of games, Lonzo Ball would like kind of guard their power forwards when Patrick Williams is out, and was kind of capable of doing that. Is he, going to guard Giannis or whatever? No, but maybe he could have guarded in a rotation like Chris Middleton or something like that. So, I think in this particular series, if the Bulls were fully healthy, maybe, but I definitely think that the Bucks will take this either in 5 or 6 games. They're kind of hoping for 6 just to keep things interesting, but I don't think this is the best matchup for the Bulls here. I think the Bucks, I think they're coming in, pretty much healthy with Giannis and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. I just don't see the Bulls pulling this off as much as I want to. So I think, Bucks in either 5, possibly 6 here.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, to your point about Patrick Williams, I mean, we just did our top 10 favorite NBA players list, and I'm actually shocked that he wasn't at the top of your list, because you've been dropping Patrick Williams a lot lately. And, I want to see him break out and be the next star player, maybe a Chris Bosh type, maybe a smaller, Jason Tatum type or what have you. You never know. That whatever he turns out to be, maybe it's a Kawhi, like you were saying. I mean, that'd be the absolute dream. But it's just too bad. The Bulls were incredible in the first half, especially out the gate. Love what they're doing as far as they signed Lonzo Ball. As a great signing. It was too bad he got beat up a little bit. Caruso off the bench was just another excellent signing. Another guy who took a fall. DeRozan, MVP caliber season. A guy who's in his young 30s, kind of resurrected his career and turned himself into, at least for this year, a top 10, top 15 player, at least for this season. I mean, he's been awesome. And, it's too bad, because I really do see the Bucks beating them in 5, just like you said. I think this Bucks team, if I didn't pick the Nets, I'd pick the Bucks to represent the East. I just love what they have. It's more about maybe what I see in potential in the Nets than it is about any slight Bucks. They just think, their team is fully integrated. They've won a championship. Giannis is top 2 in this league. I love, looking at his stat line, but also just the energy and leadership he brings to the club. It's just, and the city, it's just, he's magnetic as far as being, somebody you can root for and somebody you can trust to, carry your franchise. And, Drew Holiday is an absolute disruptor at the 1. Chris Middleton, I mean, he proved that he deserves his credit. He deserves to be called an all-star, and he carried his weight throughout the finals last year. And I don't like Grayson Allen. I think he's obviously a little punk, and hopefully if we go down in 5, we at least take him down with us. But
right,
there's not much else that I really feel like contributing. It's just too bad that the Bulls have kind of gone on this major skid toward the end of the season. It would already have been a tough matchup as it is, but if you're not going in with momentum, I just expect them to kind of fall out.
Why did it have to be the defending champion Bucks? Like, why did it have to be them? So just bad luck with the draw. But the Bulls didn't, even before that, the Bulls weren't playing well against the top seeded teams. So this is exactly what we get for that is, if we're not performing and not winning against, the Bucks, the Sixers, Heat, and all that, we're going to get kicked out. So it's just unfortunate. I think the season, it definitely has promise, and hopefully, Lonzo Ball comes back healthy and everything for next season. Hopefully Patrick Williams takes the next step. So there's still a lot of promise, I think. And hopefully this is like a good step in the right direction, but I don't see the Bulls advancing too far into the series. So season. So what are your thoughts on this?
As far as this season goes, I think it's a wrap. Unfortunately, I love where this is going. I think on our episode where we kind of discussing potential trades or potential acquisitions.
Right.
You know, my hope is that maybe we just add that one extra piece in the offseason. Maybe it's a Jeremy Grant type, or maybe it's like a PJ Tucker type who's just been there, done it, veteran who can add some really great minutes off the bench. But maybe it's another route where we're trying to package one of our older guys, or just make a creative trade that maybe sets us up for the next season and the ones beyond that. I wouldn't do too much with it because I do like our bench. I like the guys like you were saying with Io and Kobe White. I mean, I like what they bring to the team, and they're still young and controllable. It's just like let's see where this goes. Don't do anything in a panic state. So. Mm-hmm. We'll see where it goes. It's just good to see the Bulls back in the playoffs and see them back in a winning type atmosphere. It's been a while since we've gotten to enjoy watching them as a franchise. So hopefully they just carry the torch in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think I feel good about what AK is doing. I don't think I've said that for Bulls GM in a while or ever. So hopefully it doesn't pull off a whole let's trade Elton Brand away and all that. I think we're progressing well. Let's just keep the pace going, make smart moves, and I'm optimistic about the Bulls' future. With things in place. So just bad luck with the draw.
Well, sounds good. This has been a wrap for our Eastern Conference first round video. Wayne and I are gonna, keep up with the playoffs here in the first round. We're gonna, fire up an episode down the road here, maybe in a couple weeks, where we analyze what happened and what's kind of coming up for the Eastern Conference. We also have a Western Conference video on the way. We're going to be doing the exact same thing on the other side of the league, breaking down, what happened in the play-in tournament, and also how the bracket was really set up. So if you like what you hear, give us a like, share a comment on what you think is going to happen in the first round in the East. And as always, continue to look out for us on Apple, Anchor. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, wherever you consume your content, we'll be there. So, with Wayne, I'm Patrick, and we're signing off for this episode.
Take care, everyone.